Welcome, Peacock fans, to our 50th episode of Peacocks on the Prowl. On this week's episode, we're going to have staff instead of coaches, and they're going to talk to us about their duties here at Upper Iowa University. Joining me right now is Sports Information Director Howie Thompson. Howie, nice to have you here.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, Howie. So why don't you tell us exactly what it is a Sports Information Director does on a day-to-day basis?
Well, we have the opportunity to talk about all the student athletes at our school, the 400 of them. We get to talk about the 16 sports that we deal with, 14 in the NSIC, the 1 in the MIAA, and then of course our competitive cheerleading as well. And it's really a day-to-day job is getting through all 16 of those at some point. We have requests from August through July talking about can we get this on our website? Can we get this updated? So there are simple things that we do as far as keeping our website updated for our fans, for our athletes, for our coaches, for our recruits, and for our alums. Then there are the grander schemes we have out there as far as trying to push what we have as success as our success both on the field and off the field, our student athletes and what they do off the field as well, away from Upper Iowa, out to the media, and in general, also out to our alums to make sure they know what's going on here, because so much has changed in the last 10 to 12 years here at Upper Iowa. This is my 14th year here at the university. The first 4 were as a coach, and the last 10 now as the sports information director. And the growth that the university has had has paralleled the growth of the athletics as well, and it's really a treat to be able to tell people, even my friends that I had when I got here 14 years ago, about the success that we have now, and it's really a great story.
All right, now that we have a more general understanding of what a sports information director does, why don't you kind of hit on some of the areas that you have to focus on?
Well, we obviously, the public face of sports information is the website and the stories and photos that go within there. We're also dealing with our social media on Facebook, on Twitter. We deal with photo galleries on the site. We have obviously our interaction with the video that goes along with pre-game, post-game, in-game webcasts. We deal with our radio personalities in football with Joe Stacy and Zach Carlisle, and then here at basketball again with Zach and myself and my graduate assistant Doug Ingles jumping on as color commentary. We deal with the in-game statistics and how those go for all of our matches and games here on campus, and we rely on work study to help us out. This year I've got Meg DeHaven, a kid from Owine, Iowa, and then Larry Seidel, who actually moved here with his family to Fayette to be a part of things. I've had some good interns this year too. Greg Fairley, a former soccer player, broadcasted for us throughout the soccer season. He'll be graduating, and now I've got Jordan Roths, a wrestler for us that's also going through it. So we touch quite a bit, really a lot of things that go into pre-game, during the game, post-game, and it takes a while to do those things, but it's the love that we have to share the story of these kids, whether it be a win or a loss, to be able to let our alums, fans, parents know what happened in the game and to give these kids the credit for the effort they put forth.
All right, now you did mention that during events that your job just doesn't pause during the events, as you are in charge of stat keeping and especially updating the live stats on the website. Why don't you kind of talk about more of your game day duties?
The game day for us usually starts in the morning. We have a basketball game here today, and we've got the gym already set up and ready to take on the game, whether it be with our stats, with our radio, with the sound equipment at the table as well. We help to check all that out. And we make sure that that's all ready to go. In the game itself, we always have little things that come up. Little stat errors here and there are easily fixed. Doug and I have worked really well this year. In past, Steve Wilson, Chris Shaw, Cooper Weidenthaler, Cameron Weidenthaler, those guys have been really big on the stat side of things. And when we have little mistakes, we can correct them quickly so that there's not much time lapse before we have the right corrections in. The bigger problems that come up are things like all of a sudden the internet's not going to work, or our connection on a webcast is down, our connection on live stats is down, our feed to the 3 or 4 different places we send our stats, something's broke there. And so it's really the goal that we have going into every event is to foresee anything that can go wrong and already have a plan as to how to fix that, so that if there is a hiccup, it's only a hiccup and not a long delay before those mistakes can be rectified. And so we kind of come into it as troubleshooters, and we somewhat pride ourselves on being able to stay calm when things are going wrong and get them fixed as quickly and smoothly as we can.
Now, you mentioned the statistics computer and having to input statistics, and sometimes there could be problems there. And I have a little bit of insight on this because I was actually trained on some of that equipment far back in the day. And the equipment we use is called StatCrew, and it's basically what everyone uses. They basically have a monopoly on inputting statistics that then go everywhere. And in a day and age where technology is everything, StatCrew is like a step backwards, almost to like the dark ages. A computer actually has to have an MS-DOS prompt to use StatCrew, and I've said that, and some people watching might not even know what an MS-DOS prompt is. Can you kind of talk about some of the problems you might have just because of the antiquated technology not meshing with the new technology?
Well, usually I have to hold on to computers longer than most would. I have a few laptops that we work with stats that are from when I got here 10 years ago and took over this position. And it really is the older the computer, the better StatCrew will work. They are working hard to change that and move their model to a web-based stat program. We do have that for soccer, for basketball, and for wrestling. Those have moved over. As a conference, we haven't made that move as a whole yet, so we still do use the DOS programming. But probably the easiest way to think of a DOS program is as I'm entering all the information, it's all alphanumeric keys, it's codes. A statistician sees a game a different way. They see it all in numbers and letters, and the mouse is completely useless. So you have to be able to use your arrow keys, your number pad, and really know where all your letters are before the game starts.
All right, well, thank you for giving us a look there, Howie, into the introspective world of the Sports Information Director.
You're welcome.
All right. And that's all we have with Howie Thompson, folks, but stay right there. We have Brock Wissmiller, the Assistant AD for External Affairs, coming up next. Welcome back, Peacock fans. I'm joined now by Assistant AD for External Affairs, Brock Wissmiller. Brock, nice to have you here.
Jim, thanks so much for having me.
All right, as the Assistant AD for External Affairs, you're in charge of marketing, sponsorships, ticketing, sales, fundraising, basically anything that doesn't fall in any category you kind of cover. Kind of talk about like the marketing, the fundraising, the sponsorships, which happen, before the seasons even start.
Yeah, and that's really the biggest challenge, I think, for my position, in particular at a school like Upper Iowa. Being in a remote area, northeast Iowa, there's not a lot of business, there's not a lot of industry. I mean, there's a lot of ag industry, but farmers aren't necessarily looking to do sponsorships, and so that's been one of the big challenges, is getting out to those businesses in the area that do want to market to our fan base, to our students, through our avenues that we have, to display a message, whether that's online on our website, on our TV broadcast, on our radio broadcast, whatever that might be. So there's a lot that goes into the kind of pre-event planning, because the marketing and sponsorship stuff all has to be done well in advance of the week of the game and in the week of an event or whatever, even the season. So there's a lot that's done. The busy time, for the fall sports is the spring and the summer, getting that planning going, and then there's some collaborative season-long stuff that goes on with a lot of our partners that we have. So there's a lot of planning process, and there's also a lot of reaction process too. You kind of plan to just be able to react. What does a sponsor want to do? What are they looking for? And then from the marketing standpoint, that's been one of our big challenges here. This is my 5th year at Upper Iowa, and I can say we haven't done a phenomenal job of it because we haven't seen the ticket sales, to maybe the level we want to, but what we have seen is great increases, and that's really a testament to our student athletes. They're the ones that make my job easy when they're doing great things, in the community, in the classroom, and then as well on the field. A few years back, and we try not to rely on marketing as wins and losses, but when football was struggling, the ticket sales weren't as much there. 3 straight winning seasons now, we've seen an increase in the crowd at football games. So it's an ever-evolving beast, marketing is, and you don't want to rely on the wins and losses, but you also don't want to just come up with gimmicks and things like that. So we're trying to work on that. We've done a lot to try and engage the community, and we feel like what we need to do first and foremost is kind of own Fayette County. We have to get our fan base here from the city of Fayette and from the county of Fayette, and then grow beyond. And we feel like we've done a really good job of that growing, but it's been a planning process and talking with the local communities, talking with schools, talking with local businesses, and getting our name and our tickets out just within our own county, which is not that wide. And it's the challenge we have being in a community of less than 2,000 people. You have to expand your boundaries, and you have to get your fans to really be commuter fans.
All right, now speaking of game days and events, part of your job is ticketing and then game day promotions, which have a different feel to them than all of the pre-season marketing. Kind of tell us about those.
Well, there's a lot that goes into ticketing, and it's not just as simple as you set up a ticket booth, you have cash sales on game day. You've got to do some marketing ahead of time. You've got to do some of those things to get people in, and you've got to get your staffing in place to be able to do that. And so when I first got here, we were doing what you would call like pull tab tickets, like a raffle ticket, just reels of tickets, and someone walks in, you tear off a ticket, you give it to them, and that's how we did sales. We've implemented a ticketing system now, online sales, so we've given people the avenue to pre-purchase their tickets if they want to. In the world of college athletics and just athletics in general, professional sports, to not have online ticketing is pretty archaic these days. So it was a big step forward for us to get with the modern times, so that people that are used to going to an Iowa football game at Kinnick Stadium, or going over to Hilton Arena for Iowa State, or even the McLeod Center for a UNI game, that we can give them a similar type of experience on the purchasing side. They can buy their tickets ahead of time. So having those options available are important, but it then comes with, you have to have the staff to manage that. You have to have a will call booth then for people to pick up their tickets or to mail tickets out. So we've done a great job of utilizing our students here on campus and getting them into real world positions that they can work with. And we've got this semester alone, we had 3 students that pretty much interned full time on a volunteer basis, working with our ticket operations and some of our game day promotions and stuff, but overseeing a staff of about 20 workers on game day for football that do tickets. And then during volleyball and wrestling and basketball, we have anywhere from 2 to 4 ticket workers in those games. And it's just a lot of different things. There's pass lists for the team that we have to manage. There's comp tickets for guests of VIPs, the president's office, those types. We always have guests coming, so you got to manage those people and get them in. But then just the general ticket sales, you've got to have people in place to be able to manage those. You can't just have one person collecting money. So it becomes a big staff that we have to work with one way or another. And we've been very fortunate to have students here on campus that are willing to help and support those types of things, and then ones that are wanting to get that real world experience that they might translate into a career in college athletics or professional athletics or something like that down the line. So it's an endless army, and we can always use more support, but we've done a great job with what we've had, and I hope that our fans that are watching this right now, that have come to games over the past 5 years or even beyond that, have seen that transition, have seen a change and an enhancement in our game day experience through our ticketing, because we have those staff members on board, those student workers that are doing a phenomenal job to provide that fan experience for us. And we want to continue that going forward, and we love hearing the feedback of what things are going well, what things need to be improved on, and we're constantly looking at ways to improve that experience for fans so they can get in the game easier, they can get to games more frequently, and they can enjoy that experience, whether it's on the field at Harms-Eichheit Stadium, on the court, or on the mat here in Dorman Gym, or wherever it might be across campus here at Upper Iowa.
All right, now when we talked with Howie Thompson of Sports Information, he talked about a few of the things on game day that could go wrong for him, but usually for sports information, when they have a problem, there might be a stat wrong online or something that they can fix after the game before anyone sees it. When there's a problem in your department, it's a little bit easier for some of the spectators to see. Why don't you kind of tell us about some things that could possibly go wrong for you on a game day?
Well, what could possibly go wrong is anything and everything. And we've had that. And probably the best and worst example of that would be when Harms Eichscheid Stadium opened four seasons ago, the opener of the stadium against St. Cloud State. Everyone was excited for the stadium. We did the dedication, brand new video board going, ball kicks off and the board goes black. And we learned that day that we had some files in our video system that were corrupt and the system crashed. And we didn't know that until it happened, and we couldn't know that that happened until we got into a game situation. So that's one example of something that we couldn't prepare for because you didn't expect that was going to happen. That brand new equipment's going to fail you, but it did, and that's technology for you, and that's what goes on. So you got to be prepared for things like that. You got to be prepared for, I talked already about our ticket experience and fans coming through. Someone showing up at the gate that says they bought a ticket online and they didn't, or someone that bought a ticket online, it didn't print out or didn't register in the system. We've had, so you've got to always just be prepared to manage the unthinkable and be prepared for the unexpected. And so that's a lot what I focus on with my workers and the ticket workers, and I tell them, to be as courteous as they can be, to be understanding of the situation, and to remember that how we handle adversity is going to really determine how that person's experience is on game day. So when we have those things arise, it's just a matter of handling it in a positive light. And that's hard to do sometimes. It's hard to do when you've got somebody that's frustrated, that wants to buy a ticket, that wants to get in the game. On the rare occasion that a name got left off a pass list from the team or something like that. We've got to manage those situations, but at the end of the day, you can only be as good as your preparation is for that. And so if we have policies in place and we have an understanding from everybody of what they're supposed to do, then we can manage that a little bit better because everyone knows what the answers are and they speak a consistent and common language. And those are things that we focus on. And it's tough to do when you have turnover of workers, game to game. You don't have the same staff every single game, but the more consistent we can be, the better off we are. There's probably thousands of other issues that can go wrong, anything from the tunnel for the football team to run out through, the fan not working, and coming out. I already mentioned about the technology side with the scoreboard. We had a day where our ticket printers just stopped working. And we don't know why, and we still don't know why, but it was technology for you. So what were we prepared to do? Well, we were prepared to just start taking cash and tallying tickets to make sure that we had everything reconciled on the business side at the end of the day. But we weren't prepared for that. We don't sit around and say, hey, what's going to happen if the ticket printers break down, because you just trust they're always going to work. So when that happens, just being ready, being prepared, and it's tough for me because the stress level rises, and as you go up the chain, it peaks, and so I try to maintain as steady a hand as I can. That's not to say you might not find me in the stairwell every once in a while, just letting out a little shout or something to vent, but do that to make sure that you don't end up having an interaction with a fan, with a parent, with a student, with anybody. You just got to try to always be even keel and be that duck on the pond. All calm and easy on the surface, and the feet are going 100 miles an hour underneath where no one can see. And that's really what it is just maintaining that almost stoic look that nothing is wrong, despite the fact that everything's probably going wrong and you can't do anything about it.
All right. Well, Brock, thank you for giving us a look at the external affairs side here at Upper Iowa University.
Absolutely, Jim. It was my pleasure.
All right. Well, there you have it, Peacock fans. That's all we have with Brock Wissmiller, but stay right there. We'll have David Miller, the athletic director, coming right up. And we're back once again, Peacock fans. Sitting with me now is athletic director David Miller. David, nice to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so people hear the word athletic director, they hear the title athletic director, and they know that you oversee the entire athletic department. But not a lot of people know what it is that you do, because there's a lot of things that you do that help make this department work. Why don't you tell us kind of a little bit about your daily responsibilities?
I was once told the role of athletic director is a bit like being that of a javelin catcher, okay? And the reason I say that, no day working in intercollegiate athletics is ever the same. And because every single day, something new, a problem, an issue, a management opportunity, as we like to say, will come up. But I think if you look at it, every single day as an athletic director, you're going to spend time on the student-athlete experience. And that is always first and foremost what we want to focus on. And as we always talk about, we're always focused to have that good, positive student-athlete experience. We need to focus on our A, B's, and C's. We're about academics, we're about ball games, and we're about character. So number one, each day we're going to spend some time focusing on that. Number two, compliance. You know, the NCAA, that manual, the manual is thick. It is what it is. A day cannot go, you cannot get through a day without having some type of compliance question. Not that you've done anything wrong, but you're dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and just making sure you're doing everything that you need to be doing. Engagement with your external stakeholders. And those external stakeholders can be, whether it be board members, alumnus, Hall of Fame individuals, parents, potential donors. You're going to engage those people every day. You're going to engage in some type of facilities issue when you have 16 programs like we do, and maybe not necessarily all the room and all the space you need. It's always a constant juggle, and so you as an athletic director are going to get involved in those type of things, as well as being an athletic director. You also have that budget stuff that you have to work with. You know, every day there's budget questions and budget implications that we're always trying to manage. And the big thing too, a lot of it is just, as an athletic director, the things that you have to get involved with in the big picture of the university. I, as the athletic director, sit on the executive leadership team, and so a lot of my time is invested on issues that are at the university level, such as enrollment management, since we are a numbers-driven university. So it's a lot of behind-the-scenes things, but at the end of the day, what I'm lucky is I'm blessed here at Upper Iowa to have the people that I have here, the staff that I have, and the ability that I can just delegate down to Brock, to Kent, to Mike, to Emily, to Danielle. And they have their areas of responsibility that they know so very well that, quite honestly, a lot of ways, I just get out of their way. And I think that's an important job of role of an athletic director too, is just to get out of the way and let people do their jobs.
All right, so that's your in-the-office responsibilities there, but let's talk a little bit about, like, on a game day, during an event, you show up like everyone else who's working here, and what's your role on an event day?
Well, first of all, any game day for me is filled with a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervous energy, because football, I can't wait for kickoff. Basketball, I can't wait for tip-off. I can't wait for that first pitch. Anybody who knows me well, I'm kind of a different creature on game days. My anxiety gets ramped up a little bit, get a little bit excited, but a lot of it depends on the sport and whether or not we're playing home or away. Let's take football, for example. With football, pretty good chance, about 2 to 2.5 hours prior to kickoff, over in our liberal arts building, we're going to have some recruits on campus, recruits and their parents. And Coach Shea always asked me to come over, spend some time with the parents, with those recruits, and I have a presentation that I go over and talk to them about Upper Iowa, what my expectations are, where the football program has come and the direction that we're headed. After that, I generally head down into our tailgating area and go down and say hello to some of our incredibly loyal fans down there in our tailgate area. That is something that I'm incredibly proud of, is how that has taken off, and kind of work my way down and say hello to, again, parents, friends of the program, alumni. Do that, get to the stadium, usually just walk around, just kind of from a quality control standpoint, greet the game officials. I always make sure that We say hello to them. Emily does a very nice job of making sure all the logistics are in place, but I think it's important as the athletic director that I shake hands with those game officials. Go up to the press box, up to the president's suite a lot. Pre-game, I'll shake some hands there. Same thing as well as halftime. I will do that. During the game, sometimes we have on-field presentations. After the game, I like to go down onto the field and, win or lose, talk to our kids, talk to our student athletes, let them know how I feel about the game and that type of thing. Basketball and our other sports, pretty similar to that, in that what we don't have is the tailgating aspect of things, but I generally try to get around, say hello to all of our stakeholders, and catch up with the coach a little bit just to make sure they're doing okay. And game days is intense for them, and a lot of times immediately after a game I like to be around for the coach just in case that coach needs anything, because sometimes we've lost a tough game on a tough call, and I will literally grab a coach and pull them into an empty locker room and say, Coach, you got 2 minutes, just let me have it. Because they're frustrated and they're upset, and so those are some things you do on game day.
All right, now we talked with Howie with Sports Information and with Brock with External Affairs about on game days some problems that might come up, and they gave us some interesting insight into things. Now, as the athletic director, hopefully there's not as many issues for you, but what are one or two things that might come up that you might have to deal with on a game day that are unexpected or slightly problematic?
First of all, what I'm really lucky is Howie and Brock, Emily, and the group. They're good at troubleshooting, and so we're blessed we don't have a lot of issues. I think where I'm going to come in to play is, quite honestly, and this almost sounds like a political, but if we have some dealings with the opposition's athletic director, perhaps a board of trustee member, that type of thing. If we have an incident in the stands where law enforcement gets involved, I will probably go up there just so that I'm aware of the situation. If we have a student athlete go to the hospital, that type of thing, depending on the situation, I'll leave the game to go to the hospital. If it involves an opponent's student athlete, I have the cell phone number of all my counterparts in the NSIC. I would give them a call. But, as far as if something goes wrong with, the video board or the PA, quite honestly, the best thing I can do is just keep my mouth shut and not say anything, because we've got 2, if not 3 or more people working on it, trying to get it fixed. They don't need me telling them that something's not working when they already know it's not working. Best thing for me to do, again, is to get out of the way. And then I always make it be known, if they need help with something, just let me know. The last game on senior day, we were kind of going over things. We knew we were going to be short-staffed, and so it's like, hey, I'll organize the parents. We all jump in the boat and grab an oar.
All right, now we've been talking about a lot of stuff as the athletic director here at Upper Iowa that is kind of self-contained on campus, but being in a position like that, your name goes into the hat for a lot of other things. And I know that in the past you've mentioned, Jim, I can't do an interview today because I'm got to be on this conference call with either Division II, National Committee for Football or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. So what other hats do you have to wear as an athletic director besides just, overseeing the department here?
Well, what I will tell you is I think that's a very good question, and actually glad you asked that, because I believe it's important. As an athletic director, I think it's important that we're involved not only in our conference level, but the national level and with various associations. And so since I've been here at Upper Iowa, I've had the chance to serve on the NCAA Regional Committee for men's golf, and that was a 3-year stint. I'm into my second year of a 3-year stint right now on the NCAA Division II Regional Football Committee, and that involvement takes a lot of time. We have weekly conference calls during the season to rank the teams, and it's fun. I enjoy it, but there's a lot of time, and you agonize with those rankings, because this determines who goes to the playoffs. And for football, you got 7 teams, and you're sitting there debating on who's number 7 and number 8. And I take that very seriously. And so I'm on the football committee. I've also been asked to serve on the Division II Athletic Directors Association Football Task Force. And in particular, we were studying on Division II football and the issue of Division II football out west and their inability to try to get games and not having enough teams out there to play a conference schedule, having to do round robin, those type of things, as well as looking at other issues within Division II. I have been on the NSIC. I've been chair of the Administrative Council, which involves the senior women's administrators and the athletic directors. So I chaired meetings throughout the year, became very knowledgeable and very good with Robert's Rule of Order, because that's how we do all the meetings. Didn't realize, working with a motion and a second and an amendment to a motion, all those fun things I had to navigate through. I've been on the Ethics and Eligibility Committee for the conference, as well as the Strategic Planning Committee for the conference. And again, I enjoy those things. It helps to get our name out there, get us involved, not only within the conference, but within our association. And it does, it leads to good things. Upper Iowa's name is out there. And because of that, we've been awarded host of the NCAA regionals in wrestling a few years ago. We did the 2013 Division II National Championship in volleyball. We're doing the 2018 National Championship for Division II wrestling. And if it's not for the involvement of not only myself, but other members in the Upper Iowa Athletic Department on the conference, regional, and national scale, we want to be getting those opportunities. So it helps get our brand out there, and that's important to us.
All right, well, David, thank you for giving us a look into the world of the athletic director.
My pleasure. It was fun.
All right. So there you have it, folks. A look into sports information, external affairs, and the athletic department as a whole here at Upper Iowa University. I'd like to thank you once again for tuning in. As we said, this was our 50th episode, and hopefully I'll be doing something else special for our 100th here, nearing the end of the year. Until next time, Peacock fans, I'm Jim Lowery. Thank you for watching.